It's that time of the year during transfer window time where all really we think about, not just West Ham fans, but every football fan, is who's coming in and who's going. It's all about that kind of stuff, which is exciting. I do understand. And that is the prime kind of attention, isn't it, that goes towards football clubs' dealings at the moment. It's what we're going to be doing in terms of player recruitment. But one thing West Ham really need to get right, and this is a real big one this summer, is player retention. It's something we're not very good at. Before I quickly go into this video, though, I just want to quickly say that this channel is now in partnership with Sports Social, which basically means now that all of our videos also are available on podcast form. So if you've got Spotify, if you've got Apple iTunes, we are available there. Just go over, subscribe. So sometimes if you're on the go, you can actually just listen to the videos that we put out every day. So yeah, just for your convenience. So if you haven't done it already, go over there and subscribe. That'd be great. And also it really does help us out, especially with our new partnership with Sports Social. Anyway, back to the video. Yeah, so player retention is something that West Ham, I think, have struggled with for quite some time. In fact, I did mention this in a previous video about the Bowen situation, is that I can't actually remember the last time a real big key player for West Ham extended their contract. Declan Rice extended his, I think that was about 4 years ago now, around about that time, maybe a little bit longer. So quite a while ago that Declan signed a new deal. And since then, I can't remember, apart from sort of, I want to say fringe players, but sort of the lesser players in the side. You've got sort of Bonner signed for another year. You've got Fabianski signed another year. Creswell signed one back in November. Of course, he could be on the way anyway. But, you know, a big key player extending his contract with West Ham, i.e. his future. Jarrod Bowen is, this is such a big... it's hugely important for the football club. He's keeping Bowen at West Ham is so important. There's a few reasons for it as well. It's not just because of the obvious of what he brings to West Ham on the pitch, his goals, his assists, and what he's everything, his work rate, and all of those things, and the fact he's a huge fan favourite. So there's all those things, but it's also the fact of sending the right message out. Because at the moment, let's be honest, let's cut to the chase here regarding Declan. And I don't want to go on about Declan Rice. We've talked about it more than enough on this channel, and I'm sure everyone's a bit tired of hearing about it. But it's not a good look for West Ham, however we want to dress it up. I know that it's something that was unavoidable, really, because he wanted to leave, whatever. Park that for a minute. But selling one of your best players, or our best player, who also is our captain, is not a great look. It doesn't scream ambition. It doesn't scream a club going forward. It screams you're a selling club. And funnily enough, I've heard that term quite a few times now from other fans, from saying that we're West Ham are a bit of a selling club. That's what they are, and I don't believe it. I don't think that's what we are, but you do think that's the message that the Rice sale has created. That is what it's done. West Ham really need to get away from that fast. Getting Bowen to sign a new long-term contract, effectively to keep him for the rest of his career at West Ham, is so important. It's so important. We've got to get this deal over the line. Now, there is news of this, by the way. I'm not just sort of regurgitating another video, because we did talk about this previously a couple of months back, or however long ago it was, and saying about how important it was. So ExWHUEmployee has provided an update, and he dropped it in one of his sort of on the West Ham Way Patreon. If you aren't a patron, go and check it out. It's honestly really is worth being a part of that family. It's wonderful. It's the West Ham Way. It's patreon.com/the West Ham Way. So on his update, he provides a list of things that are going on at the club in terms of incomings, outgoings, Creswell, and all these names and bits and pieces of what's happening. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of it, he just said, also the West Ham are working really hard behind the scenes to get a new deal with Bowen, which is great. I know that is vitally important, but we have got to get this right. My feeling is, this is just my general feeling, I think he will stay. I don't think Bowen will leave. I think that if you look at the comments from him after the final and over the summer, things like that, and his excitement being back, it doesn't scream a player that's kind of looking around and possibly considering his future. However, that being said, it's not something we can just take for granted. We can't just sit back and think, well, okay, Bowen, he'll sign. His daddy dies. That's his father-in-law. He ain't going to leave. As much as I'd like to believe that, at the end of the day, Jarrod Bowen is still a footballer. And also, he's not a West Ham fan. We've just discovered this with Declan. It's not, all right, it is important to him. He loves the club, I'm sure. I've got no doubt about that. But ultimately, he might still have the same mindset as Declan. He might be thinking, well, Have I got a chance to go to Liverpool? Have I got a chance for a big move somewhere at some stage? Possibly. Let's not forget, it wasn't long ago that Liverpool were heavily linked with Jarrod Bowen. I wouldn't suggest they are right at the moment. We've not heard anything for quite a while in terms of big clubs that are circling. But there are clubs around, I'm sure, would take Jarrod Bowen. Newcastle, for one, I'm sure wouldn't mind having him. You know, big clubs that have got money to spend. Champions League football and things like that. We cannot risk this. This has to be done. Because the only thing that worries me a little bit, and this is just me being probably a little bit oversensitive to the situation, is that, and probably a little bit scarred from what we've just gone through with Rice, is that it's been talked about for quite a while. We've heard about this for a while. West Ham want to get a new deal for Bowen, want to get a new deal for Bowen. And so what? You know, we're hearing it, but we're not seeing it. So what's going on? What's going on? I'd like to think that the negotiations are going well, that things are progressing, and that's why they're just trying to tie a new deal down and get it correct. And Bowen's team obviously want to get the best deal for the player. Absolutely understand that. And I really hope that is what the case is. Because let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm just going to sort of throw a scenario out here. Can you imagine if Jarrod Bowen did a Declan Rice, suddenly turned around and said, you know what, I don't want to sign. I don't care how much money you want to offer me. I'm thinking about going and play the Champions League or something like that. That would be horrendous for West Ham. It would be horrendous. That would then scream to everyone, you know what, everyone, no one wants to stay at West Ham. Because, as I've said, I can't remember the last time a big player stayed at West Ham. So please correct me. I'd like someone, if someone can remind me and say, actually, Mark, no, if you remember XYZ signed a huge deal while at the club and that was really good. Possibly so, but I don't remember. I think the last one I can remember, as I say, was Declan when he signed his last contract at West Ham. So it's been a while. It's been a while. And you look at clubs like Arsenal and you see that their player retention is quite impressive, actually. They've you know, they've kept some players at that club that even some of their players that were kind of not sure if they're going to be staying, they've stayed on. And it just sends the right message. It sends the message that things are good. I want to be here. This club's going places. Players sort of questioning their futures and looking around. That doesn't scream an ambitious football club. It doesn't scream that there's much happiness behind the scenes or there's much excitement about what we can do. So we need the right message to come out now. And West Ham have got to get Jarrod Bowen to sign this contract. In fact, I'd actually say that if they get Bowen to sign a deal, which I think he will, that's my gut. I think he will sign a new contract. I'm pretty confident he will. I just do. That's not an insight. I've not heard anything to suggest that it's definitely going to happen, but I just get that feeling. I don't get the feeling that Bowen's keen to move on. But obviously I don't know for certain. But if let's just say that we do keep Jarrod Bowen, then if I was at West Ham, then I'd be straight onto Lucas Paqueta as well. I'd be straight onto that player wanting to get a new deal. We want to keep players at this football club. We do not want to be known to be selling footballers. So as important as it is, and it is important this summer that we get our recruitment right, player retention, and in particular Jarrod Bowen, is vitally important.